Hello, everyone. I'm Brian. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue.
Questions. So we have a couple of people with mics moving around. If you could just raise your hand and they will come right up to you.
Hope I'm not too abrasive for the university. So,
What year was this?
for speaking. Okay. You need a microphone. That's a microphone? It's a grand marketing idea, but not technologically not good to do that.
Sadhguru, namaskaram. My question is about India. India currently is a shining star on the global map. Economy is thriving, people are flourishing, all things are great and going good. And in the last 4.5 years, we have seen a decisive, serious government which is taking us in this development path. But my question is about this gruesome, horrible act that happened yesterday at Kashmir. And we saw 40 plus Jawans killed. So I don't know what's the psyche of these people who can get into a car with 300 kgs of ammunition and, just blast. My question is, how can government do decisively, uh, to solve this at the bud? And the second part to it is, I know it happens periodically, but the psyche of these people, how can this be changed? Can we ever imagine inner engineering in Pakistan or POK without being killed? Without having the fear of being killed.
Leave the question then, yeah.
That's that's my question. The two aspects to it, the government aspect and the people aspect. Thank you.
That's kind of a bit similar question in the United States to some degree. Obviously, I think it's quite well known that the United States is all about the Second Amendment. I am for it as well. Only because you cannot necessarily depend on other people for your protection. Sure, we have cops, but they're not at your front door 100% of the time. And at the same time, people say it's also for the government. If the government ever were to be a dictatorship, and you say, well, our government, or like, I guess a lot of people who don't believe in that don't think our government can ever be a dictator. And my only thing is the fact that even in the current year, there's still dictator governments out there, and um, it's very difficult to control everything in the populace. Again, especially the bigger the country is, the more difficult government has it. So it's going to be nearly impossible because there's so many ways to get into a country and to smuggle things. In the border, there's plenty of people smuggling, drug smuggling, gun smuggling, smuggling in general. So to just disarm the good citizens, as they probably say, the bad guys will always have the advantage, no matter what. You can ban certain things; it's still going to happen. You look at the UK at the moment. They don't have any per se, pews in there, but guess what they're trying to ban now? Zombie knives, because no matter what, people are going to do what they want. They are going to do what they want, and I get people are going to say, like, at least they reduce the chance of the pews, but I don't know. Um, the biggest issue isn't the pews. It's the biggest issue is the people, no matter where it's at, because they're the one that's causing the problems. All you're doing is just band-aiding cancer, or like a festering wound that needs better care. All that is just a band-aid. You know, the deeper healing is the people itself. The removal of things is the band-aid. I mean, you can go as far as extremes as say, let's put a curfew. No one's permitted to be outside between only the people are only permitted outside from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That will curve the ending of people's generally speaking, by a massive degree. Why? Because there's such a short time frame that people can be outside their house. If you ever go outside your house, you go to jail for a long period of time. But, you say, oh, that's a bit dictatorial, yeah. But, hey, look, you're giving up on some of your freedom for safety. That's the thing, that's the biggest thing is concerned is how much freedom are you willing to give up to be safer. And the less freedom you have, the safer you are. The more freedom you have, the less safe you are. It sucks that it has to be that way, but you have to find a fine line, a middle ground somewhere in there where you do have safety but also freedom. That's for every country to decide for themselves.
See, as I said earlier, we're still not in that level of human consciousness where all boundaries and borders can be just wiped out and human beings just embrace each other and live. There's no such love affair going on, okay? Still, national identities, religious identities, various other kinds of ideological identities set us against each other. It is as simple as it is, but when it comes as to how it manifests on the ground, it's too complex. It's not something you can solve like that. So, in the making of a nation, one important thing is the sovereignty of the nation. Because nation exists only because of its borders. This may be an unpopular thing to say in United States right now, but but you call something a nation, only the first and foremost is the geographical border, isn't it? Well, people can go this way, that way, people can change their language, people can change their religion, people can change their beliefs and ideologies, but it's the geography which is the first dimension of making of a nation. So this sovereignty should not have been dragged for so long after independence. It's a serious mistake. It should have been settled immediately. But unfortunately, they did not settle it for… I mean, I don't want to make a political postmortem now, but it's a serious mistake not to settle the sovereignty of the nation, not to fix the boundaries and say, this is it. Still, it is a line of control. It's not the national borders, it is still a line of control which is always out of control.
Real quick, just to fire back at that. I mean, there were still a whole bunch of unclaimed territories. And at least in the past, kind of. Because, I mean, mind you, even, I don't believe Indians per se, Native American Indians, had kind of a border. They were mostly roaming, but some of them did settle down. Again, not a history buff or anything like that, but obviously they immigrated to North America. I believe, whether you, I don't know which, you believe that if everyone came from Africa or somewhere around there, I think there was a group of people who migrated over the Great Ice Bridge into North America. So again, I don't believe America had any humans in it. People migrated there, so clearly there was a roaming ban, at least of people, for a little bit, because I believe they followed the mammoths over, and then I believe the Indians did follow a little bit of the buffalo until they were able to, I guess, maybe find corn or place where there's suitable amount of food, because, again, not history buff or anything, but I guess you could say that they didn't really have an established government, so it was kind of hard. Obviously the Western deals with governments. They were quite known for that, especially in Europe and stuff. There's, Britain with their empire, and France with their empire, Germans with their empire, etc. They have all borders and everything. Whereas I guess in North America, it wasn't exactly like that. There were borders, but it wasn't quite as established, I believe. But anyways, I mean, because there weren't established borders, there kind of was actually a little bit, because I believe French owned some of it, Spain owned some of it, and I think the Americas actually negotiated those territories. There's the French colonies were bought out by the United States government, so they claimed the French territories from that. I believe they also claimed some other territories just by claiming because it was unclaimed, I guess. There was the Spanish territories which were bought, and then there's the Spanish-Mexican War, which the Americans fought and won and claimed the territories through that victory, which all established the territories. I mean, I don't know. It's the past. A lot of, I guess you could say, shenanigans and stuff has happened in there, and it's all kind of died down now, relatively speaking. But until like he was saying, geographic borders were established, it was kind of a free for all. I guess whoever can claim territory or whatever at the cost of human lives or whatever the cost may be, loss of territory. Because I know, I believe the people in the Americas, the Western Europeans, have also paid the Indians for land and stuff. They gave them guns or trade for land and whatnot. Because I guess maybe the Indians, at least in that time, never really had a land they called their own because they're fine at settling at different locations. Maybe.
And there are various things. I don't want to give a political commentary now. So you're asking about the mindset. The mindset is like this. This has been in many ways put across. They are fighting for what they believe in. You are trying to fight for what you believe in. And this will go on endlessly, you understand? Either you must change your belief system or they must change their belief system. And that doesn't look like in your future, all right? That doesn't look like that. But either you must have the wisdom to end the enmity. You must kill the enmity. You must have that wisdom. If there is no room for that wisdom, unfortunately, it will naturally translate into killing the enemy. It will naturally go there. Whether you am I propounding this? No, it will naturally get there, whether you like it or you don't like it. So just because somebody lives across the border, do you want to kill them? Definitely not. But at the same time, do you want to protect what you see as this nation? This is an unfortunate dilemma of being human. If you were an animal, anybody crosses your boundary, enters your territory, you just kill him, all right? Hello? But this is the dilemma of being human. Somebody crosses your boundary, you may have to kill him, but you don't really want to kill him. This is the struggle of being human. This struggle must be there in a human being always. If this struggle goes away, he will become an animal. This struggle must exist within us, but still acting decisively for the larger well-being of a nation has to happen. Why I'm talking about a nation is, for me, nation is not a political entity, nation is not my nationalism. I don't belong to that. For me, nation is the largest amount of population you can address right now. If you want to bring well-being, you cannot address the globe. Hello? You cannot address the whole globe just like that. It is not within your means to address the globe. The best thing you can address right now, the largest human entity you can address right now is nation. If you go down, maybe there are states, maybe there are religions, maybe there are castes and creeds and all kinds. Don't go there. Address the nation because it's the largest segment of humanity you can address right now. In that context, sovereignty of the nation becomes of prime importance.
I believe that to be true because obviously you look at the nation like you look at your house. You don't just invite anyone. You don't have open doors in your house. Your doors are like your borders. Your property is the extension of your border too, but it's not something that you properly secure. You can to a certain degree by having fences, but even then there's still always just a little bit of your property outside of that, so you can, build the fence properly sometimes. And if you don't have fences, then you secure your house. Your house is a bit smaller than your border, but at least it's a very secure segment of your border. versus the exterior border, which is still yours. But it's kind of like I guess it's kind of like when a castle, they clear out that land so they can see people coming into their castle. They have no cover whatsoever. While you have the secure walls, the open land, it's very easy to see any kind of intruder. You could kind of look at your extension or your yard if you have that. That's that kind of like that. Even though that's looking like an enemy, but it's just an extension, like a nice yard to play in and stuff. Honestly, but I mean, again, fences provides a bit of security because when you have your fence, you kind of feel secure in it. It's like a wall, and you can feel safe that your kids go play out there because generally speaking, people don't go climbing over fences. And if you have a privacy fence where they can't see through it, then at least no one can know that there's anyone in your backyard except for you. Then you have surveillance cameras, of course, but that's a whole different story.
Well, what has to be done has to be done, but we must have pain in our heart. Even when we cause damage to somebody who is a threat to us, we must have some pain in our heart, otherwise we will lose our humanity.
I mean, obviously, he didn't quite answer the question. he kind of explained the fact of the dilemma of being human. That it's just there's no way to go into, say, I guess another country, and especially a very hostile in whatever fashion, that you might risk being killed, and also the conflict of belief systems, regardless of whether that's religion or not. And I guess the only thing you can do, from what I understand, is address the nation as a whole, because it's the largest body that you can do. Because you can't do globally. I mean, he's doing globally. Everyone on YouTube can do globally, obviously, if they listen to them. So essentially, I guess he's saying that there's no chance, there's nothing you can really do. If someone's going to try to end you, then the best thing you can do is, well, try not to let that happen. By either not doing it, wearing bulletproof vests, by having security, or like I said, or just not doing it at all, because it's just going to happen, I suppose.
So I'm just saying, when retaliatory action happens, don't do this. We must… unfortunate. It must be done, but we must have some pain that we have to do these things.
Vanakkam Sadhguru. Hi, I'm Rashmi. I'm from Chennai. Now, have practiced Shambhavi Mahamudra since I was 15. Thank you for it. And
Who is serving you idli and sambar here, huh?
my mom isn't here, I'm missing her. So my question to you is, since I've come here, I had to explain my way of upbringing, my culture, or the way I do certain things. And you have said Adi Yogi is not light, he's darkness. This darkness is something this is associated with evil in certain cultures.
I'm a dark person, so you're saying I'm evil?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not calling you evil. I understood what you said when you said Adi Yogi was darkness, he was not light. But when I'm explaining it to my friend or to anyone for whatsoever, how do I put it in a context that they understand? Because like you said, there are cultural differences. And how do I put it in a proper context?
Well, I would say you should know this. The only reason why I say this, I hope to say this anyway, I hope you would understand this, is that when you, again, depending on how long she's been here, like if I go to another country, I would first have to understand their culture. So, for example, if I understand that they see the color pink as something evil and terrible, and in my culture, pink is something very joyful or happy, right? And I go over there, it's like, oh yeah, it's very, I have a lot of pinkness in my life. And then it's like, oh, you have a lot of evil in your life? It's like, oh, so pink is considered evil. Well, let me explain it then in their way. It's like, and assuming I learn about their culture and they see blue as something, wonderful and joyful or whatever, or red or just whatever color it happens to be. It's like, okay, well, in my culture, pink is actually that color. So, and in my culture, blue is actually evil, which would be equivalent to your pink. Just a way to explain in context, really. That's all it really is. So when you see pink over here, it's actually a good thing in my culture. And then blue is actually evil in my culture. Whereas in your culture, it's the reverse. So whenever they come in there, they understand, oh, this means this in your culture. Because your house is going to be a little bit of your culture in a way. The way you dress perhaps will be a little bit in your culture as well.
Is it okay for me, can I take the liberty of referring to you also as little bit dark like me?
I would love that.
Okay. So you're a dark girl, all right? Now that you're a dark girl, you make yourself so wonderful that people will start saying, oh, dark girls are wonderful.
Actually, sorry to pause again, and so much so, but this is something I've thought about. It's the fact that there's a lot of negative connotation to certain things in American culture. You could say it's bias, but the way you remove this bias is by being the opposite of what it is. Now, it's kind of like, again, I'm sure there's a lot of people who has an idea of what America's like. It could be either wonderful or it could be terrible. But I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways, but they would have to come and see for themselves. Or you can say like, okay, there's a friend that lives in a foreign country that sees America as something terrible. I want to change their minds about it. I'd hope they would come over here and I can show them wonderful that America isn't as terrible. What they see is not necessarily that it is not true, but it is it's hopefully the exception to the rule, because obviously in the news they just want to show all terrible things. And again, it's not to say that's not true, but it's just the fact that if that's the only thing you see, well, that's the only thing you'll know about a country. Now, if you hear people say, oh yeah, I live in America, or whatever country they want to refer to, and everything they see is true, it happens all the time, all over the place. That's a matter of one person's opinion. And they could be completely biased against their country. They could literally live in that area, and it does in fact happen all the time. But America is a pretty big country, and majority of the area is safe. And I hope to believe that in most countries, except for like obvious dictatorship countries like North Korea. I mean, I don't think North Korea is kind of like terrible in the sense that they're punishing people. They're just starving to death. And maybe actually pretty terrible, because if you say anything bad about the government there, I think they get severely punished. But that's only if they hear and someone tells.
That's the only thing you should do in the world. Don't say, no, this color is good, that color is good, this is nonsense. Make yourself so wonderful, people see, oh, dark-skinned people are fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell them that this is good, but show them that it is good. Be the example for it. Again,
if you try to do your Chennai in Detroit, that's not fair. No, I'm not mentioning fair as a complexion. Not fair. Because it's important that your culture and your way of doing things is as important as anything, but it's very important when you come to a new land, you don't try to impose that, you only keep it as a, we have a flower pot, but all the seats are occupied by human beings. But if we keep flower pots on all the seats, that will be meaningless, isn't it? So you must keep your culture like a flower pot, alive, always, colorful, alive, Chennai, all right? But don't try to make everybody do the Chennai stuff. This is Detroit. All right. So, isn't it fantastic that people who lived in different parts of the world are so different? Just imagine if everybody was same, you would want to go to another planet. Isn't it so fantastic? From one place to another, they're so different. See, this is the uniqueness of India. If anybody, very different kind of people come, Indians get very excited, different. But in most other cultures, something very different means they become defensive. This must change. You must be excited about the difference, not fearful about the difference. The fear about the difference comes from the crocodile brain in your head. The excitement about everything different comes from being human.
I'll say most Americans, generally speaking, are excited about people who are foreign because they're like, at least from some of the videos that I watch, like foreign people who come and live in America, they're always like, oh yeah, they're always so curious, they're small talking, it's like, oh, you're from a different country, and I hear some of them, it's like, they ask personal questions. It's like, what's the personal question? Like, where are you from, and what is it like, kind of, not what it's like, but like, how are you doing, and where are you from, kind of deal. It's like it's personal to them. And when I hear a whole bunch of Europeans talk about this, from at least maybe Germany, Britain, maybe that's the known for sure, is that the fact that they don't really talk to each other. They're like, they just kind of keep to themselves. I'm like, man. I mean, in America, most of people keep to themselves, but some people will out there say, hey, how you doing? You'll say hi. It's like, oh, I like that. Random strangers will say, oh, I like your shirt. I had that happen to me once, and it's not the shirt I was wearing. It had something kind of funny. It's like, what did it say? I made it, but I didn't want to make it, or something along those lines. It's just saying like, I made it here, but I'd rather have gone to sleep, or something along those lines, And they saw that shirt I was wearing it because I like the phrasing. It's hilarious to me, and I guess she read it while I was just looking at something at a store, and she said, "Oh, I like your shirt." It's like, yeah, I like it too, and it was just great, just making people laugh, making their day. If that shirt makes people laugh, I'll be like, hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, you kind of get that around here. I think most people probably keep to themselves, and most people are willing to help, and some people are going to be the small talkers that would just love to say certain things. I just don't get the parts like, I like your shoes. I'm like, okay, you could have kept that to yourself and it would have been fine, but I'm not much of a person who appreciates. Now, if you like a shirt that has a funny saying, that's a different story. If the shoes, maybe if the shoes are super bright or super unique, then okay, I get it. But if they're just like regular shoes that just like has a slight style to it. Oh yeah, the thing I was going to say a little bit earlier was, it's obviously anything said is easier said than done, but it's the truth of the matter.
And about you trying to sell darkness. See, light has become very valuable simply because of the way our visual apparatus are made. Suppose you were an owl. I'm not saying
okay.
that.
I get what you're saying.
Because in South India, being an owl is not considered wise, it's considered stupid, okay? So suppose you were an owl, your value would be darkness, isn't it so? Hello? Because that's how your visual apparatus are. Right now, what you know as light, let's differentiate between what is light and what you know as light. What you know as light can only happen if something is burning. Is that so? Coal is burning, petroleum is burning, nuclear energy is burning, or the sun is burning. Something has to burn. Only then the kind of light that you understand through your visual apparatus can exist. Anything that burns will not burn forever. Is that so? It has to get exhausted somewhere. If you set up a lamp or a candle here, it may burn for 2 hours. This bulb may have whatever 20,000 hours they're talking. You may have 100 years, the sun may have 100 billion years, but everything that burns will burn out sometime, isn't it so? So what doesn't burn is always cool and dark, you and me, huh? So what doesn't burn is always cool and dark, there is an eternal character to that. So, out of this wisdom, we said in yoga, when we talk about the divine to a beginner, we refer to the divine as light, divine light. Once one advances in their experience of life, we refer to the divine as darkness, because only darkness can be unlimited, borderless and infinite. Light, as you know it, can only happen in a momentary way. It flashes up and it goes down. So light, as you know it, is a very temporary and momentary happening in terms of existence. What you think is sun in human experience, because our life is just a few years, we think it's a limitless source of light. But in the nature of the existence, in the nature of this cosmos, sun is just a momentary happening. It just flashes up for a little bit of time and dies out.
That's pretty interesting. I never thought about darkness as that. As I guess referring to what she was saying, you know. And I guess maybe that's the reason why I was thinking like the reason why we consider light to be good and darkness to be bad, because light we can see and darkness we can't, and we don't know what's there, so we're afraid. That's why we're afraid of darkness, because we don't know what's there. We can hear something, but it doesn't mean that we know that it's a good or a bad thing that we're hearing. When we see something, we can see whether, generally speaking, whether it's good or bad. Again, when you see a lion, it may be a friendly lion, but that could be a very bad thing. You generally work in your animalistic brain. If you see a dog, if it's friendly, if it's a dog that you know, then you know it's friendly. It could have rabies and it could actually be bad. But generally speaking, we judge things by a lot by our sight, because we can analyze it better than what we hear. Because a footstep in the forest could mean almost anything. The distinction are very, how to say, very finite, that our hearing can't hear the distinction of maybe a 1 foot crunch, 12-inch, 12 inches 1 foot, so 9-inch crunch, because there's a distinction there. 12 foot would mean, generally speaking, a bigger person or someone with massive feet, or maybe a 4-inch crunch, which could be a paw. Crunches all sound the same in the dark. I don't have that distinction. But when I visually see, of course, I can distinctly see. Our sight is probably our most powerful sense. But anyways, that's the reason why we see light as good, because it provides warmth, like you were saying, and are able to see. Whereas darkness, which can hide anything, and people who would cause bad things prefer dark sides because they can sneak around in it.
But the larger part of creation is largely dark, isn't it? Lightless, because it's eternal and always. So, it's good.
I wonder what happened to Sadhguru's mic.
We have time for one last question.
Oh, sir.
My name's Amriti and I have a
Can you speak
question.
a little louder?
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
My question is, why do people lie all the time?
To get out of trouble, to rarely do good things. And what I mean by rarely good things, think of World War II, when Jewish people are trying to run away and you're hiding one of them, and a German officer comes to you, you say, "Are you hiding any Jews?" You say, "No." That is a lie. But you're doing it for a good reason. But most people lie to get out of trouble.
So, it's not that people lie all the time. You may be just in some bad company right now. Now, for yourself, leave the other people. For yourself, you're a little boy. I'm sorry, you're a big boy. You must understand this. Don't concern yourself about what is truth, what is a lie. Just concern yourself about this one thing. Every word I utter, every action that I take in my life, is it for everybody's well-being, or is it just about me? That's all. Don't worry about what is true, what is lie, these are all endless nonsensical debates.
Interesting.
Just concern yourself about this, whether everything that you do is inclusive or exclusive. If you just fix this one thing for yourself, then you don't have to worry about anything else. About am I correct, wrong, am I right, wrong, am I sinning or in virtue, am I telling a lie, am I telling the truth, this is not the point. The point is your existence, your action, your word, everything. Is it inclusive or exclusive? Just fix that one thing.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to be at the Michigan India Conference here with us. It was truly an honor to have you, and I'm sure all of us will leave with a different light and having thought about everything that you've said.
Different light.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sadhguru, for such an engaging and inspiring conversation.
Okay. Let me think about what he said about that one. Inclusive or exclusive, especially about not worrying about lying or telling the truth. Let me pause and let me think about that one. Okay, so I didn't have to pause for very long. About less than a minute, honestly. But I didn't really think it as deep as through this until I thought about what he said a little bit. So again, this is not exactly like a very deep thought, but a very quick one apparently. 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds actually. So inclusive or exclusive, I thought about the example I gave. So, about the World War II incident where you're hiding some Jewish people. By lying, are you being inclusive? You're including those people into the concerns of into your concerns. So that's being inclusive, okay? Now, when you lie, say, just being selfish, are you being inclusive or exclusive? That's being exclusive to you, only to yourself. Obviously, I said, selfishly there, but lying to protect just yourself is selfish. Would you lie on your resume saying that you know certain things that you actually don't? That is being selfish. So, the actions that are selfish tends to be lies or bad. Inclusive. Can you see that things in an inclusive way? We could. If I lie on this resume, I'll be included with this department. My knowledge on other things will uplift the company. I don't know. Is that inclusive? To say that you seem to value yourself so highly that this company needs you. You being part of this company would uplift the company. But yet you lack the skills because you're lying about your resume. I don't think that would work out. But it could, though. Meaning that maybe there are some other skills that could benefit the company, but the requirements to get this position you do not have. I don't know. It's a little bit of a mix of both there, where you are in fact lying to be selfish to get included, but at the same time you could potentially bring certain things to the company that are inclusive. But maybe perhaps because it's not all inclusive that it's a bad thing. I'm not sure. Again, the few examples that I briefly thought upon the quick 10-second pause that I had, I thought I was going to think a little bit deeper than that. But let me know what you think about that last part from Sadhguru. Can thinking about something being inclusive, exclusive be a good determination on the basis of how you act in life? Is being exclusive or selfish really all that bad? When I say selfish now, I thought about what I said in the past, where I don't believe there's anything wrong with being selfish, as long as you're not harming other people, because you're just doing things for yourself, which I don't see anything wrong with that, honestly. I mean, you want to uplift yourself, you want to be a millionaire, a CEO, whatever. I'm perfectly fine with that. Again, so long as you're not harming anyone else. So you're at that point, you're not being inclusive, but you're not causing any harm to anyone else. That's the biggest thing for me. If you're trying to uplift yourself by causing harm to other people, that's very bad. If you're uplifting yourself but causing no harm to anyone, it's not a good thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing that you do. If you're uplifting yourself so you can help other people, that's being inclusive. That is a good thing. So it matters for intent, whether you're harming other people. Now, if you unintentionally harm people and that is not your intent, mind you, the key word there being genuine truth intent, then it can't be helped, because by you becoming the CEO, you are denying other people who have applied to that job from being a CEO as well. But that's just kind of the par of the course, as they say, I guess. There's only one position for that. If 50 people are applying for it, only one person can get it, and if you get it, you denied 49 other people. Or I said 50, so 49 other people. But yeah, that can't be helped. Like, imagine if there's a homeless shelter and it can only hold one more person, and you got there and you're freezing your butt off like anyone else. To say to be selfish in there, you are sacrificing other people, but you'd be in the same boat as them. I mean, unless somehow you're more prepared in some way than they are. I don't know. That's a thing, that you are being selfish, and other people are being put in harm's way because you're in there, but then you're putting yourself in harm's way as well. Different ways. This is what I think about anytime something comes up. I try to think of all the positives and all the negatives, and the consequences of things. And I remember when I was younger, I would try to think about all the outcomes, the good and the bad. So anytime I want to do something, I say, let me think about it. And I remember stopped doing that because it took a while to make some answers, and I made some mistakes, nothing serious, but it's like, okay, maybe I should start thinking about things again. Anyways, that's my reaction to Sadhguru University of Michigan, Ross Business School. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next bit.